Good morning. Today we will be reading from the Sophia Code and in ISIS's initiation, Key Code 1 initiation from page 89. This will be a quick live. I just thought it would be beautiful to read this passage together. Good morning. And I asked Isis to show me which part of her initiation that we should read from, and this is what I was shown. It's wonderful to see everyone's comments. Thanks for saying hello, and thanks for saying hello to one another. It's really nice to be here with you this morning. The birds are singing. So, okay, we're returning to page 89 in the Sophia Code. And as I was reading this passage, it's such a visual journey within you. So I invite you to take a moment to step into a stillness and honoring of who you really are by reading this passage out loud together with me from the Sophia Code on page 89. These are the words of Isis that we are affirming for ourselves in the first person. Hi. Okay, starting at the bottom of page 89, this is the 9th Sephira. We are in the Key Code 1 initiation with Isis. We are traveling through the tree of life. And that's the Kabbalah chakra system in the body that actually came out of Egypt. And a Sephira is another word for chakra. I know it's also the name of my cat, but yeah, so that's what's happening here. We're walking through the Sephiras, the chakras of the body. Excuse me for one moment. I'll be right back. Okay. Here we go, at the bottom of page 89. As I am the tree of life, I honor the Sephira of Bina. Bina is the word for throne, the throne, breathing within me. And if you'd like to practice your tapping with this, you're welcome to do that. Or you can also just really practice the visualization of these words. As I have been made in the exact image and likeness of Sophia, I now claim the Sophia Code as my rightful divine inheritance. Next page. As I have been made in the exact image and likeness of Sophia, I now consecrate my body as the temple of my I am presence. As I have been made in the exact image and likeness of Sophia, I now take up the mantle of my divinity and present precious offerings to the altar of my own I am presence. As I have been made in the exact image and likeness of Sophia, I now ascend to the throne of my I am presence. I allow my silent awe to worship in thanksgiving for the ineffable mystery of my divinity that I now behold within me. I baptize and sanctify my human awareness as the throne of consciousness that invites me to an understanding free of all thought. I affirm this truth independent of any passing understanding. I am both the throne and the one ascending the throne to worship the divinity of my human experience. I am that. I'm going to go back to the beginning of this reading and just briefly share some highlights from this part of the Key Code 1 initiation with Isis. I welcome the presence of Isis to guide these reflections, and hopefully they'll speak to you in some way that that will inspire or encourage your day to day. So starting at the bottom where it says, I honor the Sophia Bina, the throne, breathing within me. This consciousness. A throne can be thought of as both physical, but in many ways, we're talking about a metaphysical, a spiritual, an emotional throne. That your consciousness is like your consciousness is a throne from which your human awareness is sitting upon. Like your divinity is encapsulating your humanity in love, protection, grace, abundance, guidance, insight, radiance, illumination, enlightenment. Your divinity is a throne, the consciousness itself for your human experience to even exist. And so as we are reclaiming different aspects of our divinity, as we are reclaiming different aspects of how our divine consciousness interfaces with our human consciousness, we begin to recognize how multidimensional we are. We begin to remember that our true essence is holy, and nothing and no one could ever change that, because the Sophia Code shares so many different perspectives of how divine you are. And as we allow ourselves to recognize and reclaim every divine virtue, every aspect of our divinity, it changes how we relate to our humanity, because we realize our humanity is emanating out of our divinity. That divinity is a throne for this human experience to happen, to embody, to exist, to enjoy. Elwie is asking a question today in the chat. What does consecrate mean in a practical matter? It seems to be a verb. It is a verb. How to do it? That's interesting that word's coming up a lot this week for people. So consecrate, it can mean many things, many different nuances, but the way we work with the word consecration is when your divine consciousness supports your human consciousness, your human awareness to recognize the truth of your holiness, the truth of your goodness, the truth of your sovereign divinity. And you choose to consecrate some part of your life or some aspect of your awareness or a daily practice or even an object to the purpose of continuing to stay in a fully awakened recognition of that holiness. So when you are consecrating something, you are saying, I am giving you the purpose of staying in the state of remembrance, staying in a state of awakening, remaining in a space of recognition. It's a great question. And as we choose to consecrate our lives or consecrate our minds or our hearts to an awakened state, what happens is the truth of that holiness, that divinity rises up to support you in that remembrance and to remain in that state of awakened consciousness. That's a little bit about that. I'm going to continue in this passage with Isis. And we're repeating this statement in this 9th activation with the Sophia Bina. I've been made in the exact image and likeness of Sophia. This is important for us to remember. Our consciousness has been made as a holographic replica of the Divine Mother. So there is a divine consciousness within each of us that is inseparable from God and is mirroring God consciousness, and our human awareness is awakening to that which already exists within you. This consciousness that's already it's already divine. It's already of the Divine Mother. And so when we say, I now claim the Sophia Code as my rightful divine inheritance, what Isis is referring to in this part of her initiation is the divine genome within every cell of your body. This divine genome interfaces with your biological DNA. And we share all about that in chapter 2 of the Sophia Code. And so what we're saying is, not only do I claim the divinity of my consciousness, which is metaphysical, it's energy, but I also claim the divinity of my divine consciousness that manifests itself into form, first and foremost through that divine genome. When your soul crosses over into a planetary matrix, it takes on subatomic forms and then gradually radiates into a more molecular structure of an incarnation. So the next line in this Key Code 1 initiation, as I have been made in the exact image and likeness of Sophia, I now consecrate my body as the temple of my I am presence. So what the statement is saying is, I'm recognizing, number one, I am consciousness first. I am the consciousness of the Divine Mother who created my soul. And then you recognize for yourself, number two, I've been given spiritual technology. There's divine genome that holds all the actual divine virtues of God consciousness within every cell of my body. Number three, this takes it to the next step, where we consecrate the body, we recognize the body, we treat the body as holy and as a temple for the I am presence, which is the I am presence is referring to the omniscient awareness of your divine soul. So this is, do you see the steps here? We go from pure consciousness to metaphysical physicality to actual physical manifestation, incarnation of the body. And then we go to the next step. As I have been made in the exact image and likeness of Sophia, I now take up the mantle of my divinity and present precious offerings to the altar of my own I am presence. What this is saying is, as you embody your human experience over time through the journey of spiritual awakening, what happens is you recognize that this divinity within your body deserves to be worshipped. It deserves to be honored. It deserves to, we come into an awareness that we're not praying to God outside of ourselves, that God consciousness is within us. It is listening from within us. It is also within all that is. The source God consciousness exists everywhere and in everything. And yet, as we are an individual incarnation of that divine consciousness, part of the journey of a human spiritual awakening is recognizing, oh, this concept of worship is to worship the holiness, not just within the universe, but within myself, and to honor it and to consecrate my life and my body, to treat it well, to love it, to uplift it, to nourish it, to care for myself, because to care for myself is to care for this temple, this physical manifestation of the divinity that my soul is. Isis is all about that, recognizing how your human body truly is the temple, the throne of your royal divine consciousness. Then you really understand the true meaning of royalty. You understand that we are all royal. We've all been made sovereign, free, and divine. Let's move on. I just have a few more minutes here. The next sentence says, as I have been made in the exact image and likeness of Sophia, I now ascend the throne of my I am presence. So what this is saying is, as we recognize the holiness of our soul, the divinity of our soul, the metaphysical manifestation of this divine genome in every cell of our human body, we recognize the holiness of our human body. We start to put into practice this daily practice of honoring the divinity within us through our daily offerings to ourselves, such as meditation, prayers, self-love, self-care. What happens is we wake up and we choose to sit upon the throne of our heart and explore what it means to be multidimensional, what it means to have access to higher states of consciousness, what it means to operate your human awareness from the perspective of your higher self. This is a symbol, a metaphorical statement that you are sitting on the throne of your heart. And from that space, the omniscient, all-knowing presence of your divinity can start to manifest itself in every aspect of your life in very interesting and creative ways, because you are saying, I trust this divinity within me to steer the ship, which allows you to both be in an active state as well as a rested state of trust that you are being deeply divinely guided as you sit upon the throne of this divine consciousness that you have placed in charge of your human experience. Very often in the human experience, we're looking for something to save us outside of ourselves when literally God exists within us. In this next line, I allow my silent awe to worship in thanksgiving for the ineffable mystery of my divinity that I now behold within me. What this is pointing to is that the longer we are abiding in this consciousness of our own divinity, the more that we recognize how crystalline, how pure, how powerful we really are, it actually humbles us. It humbles the human awareness, because the human awareness does not need to strive anymore to identify its self-worth. Because what is the value and worth of God? It is everything. And if this presence of God exists within you, as the Sophia declares over and over again for over 300 pages, the human ego structure begins to relax and return to its natural state of consciousness, which is innocence, not naivety, divine innocence. And divine innocence is always curious. Divine innocence is naturally loving. Your divine innocence is playful. It's in flow. It's in harmony with all that is. It's in harmony with abundance. And its natural state, what we were created to do, is to worship life, is to bring our praise and gratitude and appreciation for life, which amplifies and expands all of life, all of creation. So it's as we accept and claim and sit upon the throne of our sovereign divinity, that's when we return to our natural state of active humility, wonder, curiosity, genius, creativity. It's not by looking for it outside of ourselves, which always puts us in a state of separation, disassociation, competition. And when we come back to the center of who we really are, sitting upon that throne with the support of Isis, helping us to stay in that throne, stay in our seat of power, that we walk with great humbleness and joy in this world, and we can make the greatest impact. Isn't that interesting? This final statement, I baptize and sanctify my human awareness as the throne of consciousness that invites me to an understanding free of all thought. What is this pointing to? Very quickly, your innocence doesn't need to have all the answers, because your innocence, sitting upon the throne of your divinity with and merging with the your human awareness, opens you up to receive a constant stream of information from the source. So you are always in the right place at the right time. You are free to meet others beyond judgment. You are free to meet them exactly where they need to be met in that present moment. And most importantly, you are ready to meet more and more aspects, attributes, virtues of yourself beyond your judgment or limiting who you are, because you're sitting in that throne of innocence where you can be open to all that you are, free of all thought. You are in an open-hearted space that welcomes the truth of who you really are, celebrates the truth of who you are, and amplifies the truth of who you are, which allows for you to share who you really are in this world. A holy, sovereign, radiant, divine being, having a very human experience. Finally, we affirm this truth independent of any passing understanding. Let's read this together out loud, this final statement. I am both the throne and the one ascending the throne to worship the divinity of my human experience. I am that. It felt really good. You know, that was a lot of teaching in a very short amount of time. This Key One initiation is profound. I wanted to invite you to watch this video again. There's so many pearls here that were just shared about this particular passage in the Key Code 1 initiation. I have to run to my next appointment. I'm a few minutes late, but I want to thank you for joining us for the KR Daily Transmission this week. It's been so much fun being here with you live, focusing upon Isis. And I want to thank you for journeying with us through the Sophia Code teachings in such a clear and present way this week. I'm about to leave for our Dolphin Leadership Immersive with our Sophia Circle leaders, which I'm really excited for. So you can look for those videos starting at noon Pacific between now and next week. And I'll be back with you the following week, and we'll be moving the KR Daily Transmission to noon Pacific. So I look forward to being with you then. And thank you so much for liking this video, subscribing to our YouTube channel. There's such a wealth of free information here. Check out those Sophia Circle leader interviews that we did last month if you haven't watched them, because our Sophia Circle leadership certification program starts this September. We're getting really excited about this year's group of students, and just feeling so blessed by the spiritual maturity, the creativity, and the powerful leaders that we're co-creating the movement with, our Sophia Circle leaders, our certified leaders. We're going to have more interviews coming up with them next month. And I'll also be live in Sedona in August. So we've got a lot ahead of us. If you'd like to speak to my Team Angels about what's coming up and how you'd like to get involved, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to get on the phone with you and share more about what we're up to in the Sophia Code movement. Thank you, everyone. I love you all so much. Have a blessed and beautiful day and weekend, and we'll see you in the following week. And of course, we'll be posting fresh content here all week long for you. Thanks for liking and supporting this channel. We love you so much. Namaste.